So I want to talk about something that has been a little bit under the radar for the RE community, but now it's probably has been talked about since it's almost been like almost around a week. It's about this IGN article that got posted talking about Operation Javier and if that specific part of the Darkside Chronicles is considered canon. I might as well read you guys this entire thing, but before we get into that, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe for more Resident Evil content, and now, let's get into it. As the first anniversary of Resident Evil 4 Remake approaches, the game's producer has addressed lingering questions regarding the Darkside Chronicles, clarifying whether or not a certain chapter in the 2009 on-rail shooter is considered canon to the current main story of Resident Evil. In an email interview with IGN, Resident Evil 4 Remake producer Yoshiaki Hirabayashi clarified whether or not if it's canon to the Resident Evil universe. Specifically, the in-game scenario titled Operation Javier, focusing on Leon and his first mission as an agent for the US government with his partner Jack Krauser. When asked about Darkside Chronicles' status as a canonical entry in the Resident Evil lore, Hirabayashi clarified that while Operation Javier itself is canon to the Resident Evil universe, the events depicted in Darkside Chronicles are not exactly the same as those depicted in the remake. The fact that Operation Javier occurred is in fact a part of the Resident Evil main story, however, as to what that mission was, it's not exactly the same as the events portrayed in Darkside Chronicles. I can't share the details, but you will find that the relationship between Leon and Krauser, as well as their conversations, give you some idea. Now, what's getting a lot of people going about this entire IGN article is the I can't share any details part. We all knew that OJ was canon, it's just that the reason why it wasn't mentioned in the OG RE4 was because there was no backstory yet during 2005, and it took them about 4 to 5 years to come up with it, which there is nothing wrong with that at all, and should be a good thing that Capcom did. It was one of the biggest appeals of the Darkside Chronicles games, and when we are talking about that game specifically, Operation Javier is the one where it's like, it was a completely brand new experience, because everything else was reimaginings of RE2 and Code Veronica. And 2 got its remake, and fans now want the remake of CV, which I'm sure is going to happen. Operation Javier was very compelling on its own, but there is not an easy way to play this game. Plus, the gameplay camera was what made the game unplayable. The story was great or underrated, but the gameplay spoke otherwise. The way the mission was panned out in the remake was different because we saw that in the files. It wasn't just Leon and Krauser, it was them and a whole other unit infiltrating South America to take down Javier. That unit got killed and only Leon and Krauser survived. Krauser wanted to go public with that mission because the government kept it under wraps. He didn't have this hell-bent jealousy of Leon, it was more so of knowing his unit died and the US didn't do anything to avenge, or maybe it was a setup that the US didn't help them and Krauser was pissed that those men died for basically nothing, and he wanted to expose it all. But let's go back to the I can't share the details. I don't believe it will involve RE4 Remake as like this DLC because the Gold Edition came out. When the Gold Edition comes out, the remake is complete and done with. But I do think they will do a very similar path like Darkside Chronicles, but can expand on it as its own game because I believe it has the content to do so. It doesn't have to be this major title, it can be a spin-off remake and people will buy it, especially if it has co-op. Of course though, it is not confirmed nor a guarantee that this is happening. But why mention that you can't share the details even though we got them in some sort of way in the RE4 remake unless you are going to expand on it and possibly remake it? I don't think it's happening right away, and I don't know if it will happen at all. It could be like a CGI movie remake where they have the voice actors with Nick and Mike. They can reimagine everything and expand on it. This took place around 2 years, I believe, after Code Veronica. CV would be remade before or after this, and honestly should be before. At the same time, I feel like the remake combo with Code Veronica 5 and now Operation Javier entering it, it's getting a little too crazy, you feel me? I personally believe if they ever did remake the events of South America, it would either be a standalone game or a CGI movie, nothing to do with RE4 except for giving us clarity on the relationship and rivalry of Jack and Leon. Some RE fans definitely could be blowing this out of proportion, and honestly, when do we not do that shit? Plus, I think Capcom's RE team has their hands full with RE9 in the next remake potentially, and then they'll have like their discussion team or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Also, apparently some people asked Krauser's voice actor about this, and now he's ducking the questions, which is the right move because you can't confirm nor deny it's going to happen because you don't know if Capcom will straight up call you and say, hey, you want to be a part of this project? And if you do confirm it, say goodbye to future Capcom opportunities. So he's doing right on staying quiet because, I mean, you're in like a tough spot if someone asks you something like that. So I'd be perplexed about the entire situation if I was him. It was like when Paul Mercier in 2017 said, hey, I can't confirm nor deny my involvement in the RE2 remake. Turns out he wasn't, and that was the last tweet he ever tweeted. I'm dead serious on that. I don't know if this will happen at all. I'm just like, let's talk about and focus on RE9 first, which I get this interview has gotten a lot of people going, but yeah, that's my piece on it. If they remake it, you guys know exactly how I feel about Operation Javier if you consistently watch my videos. I love the story and I would love to see it reimagined or something like that. I'll say this though, do you guys want this to happen and to be its standalone game? Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, I'll catch you guys in my next video. Peace out, and much love.